Season bold predictions. Hey, Dan Graziano, where is Lamar Jackson going to play in 2023?
We're getting bold. Let's say the Atlanta Falcons. I think this makes a lot of sense. They're looking for a quarterback. They got a creative offensive play caller there in Arthur Smith who needs somebody to jazz things up in the offense. They'll build around him. It's as good a guess as any right now, and really all we're doing is guessing.
Fair enough. We are boldly predicting. Marcus, how about Derek Carr? Where's he going to play next year?
This is who I like for the San Francisco 49ers, G. I think Derek Carr would fit right in with what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. Adds a little bit of a guy that can get out of harm's way, number one. And then, two, you talk about easy path for a quarterback. It's no place that I would rather have a guy that's still young enough to have a couple years to try to take a strike at that thing with.
Fair enough. Canty, how about Aaron Rodgers? Where's he going to play next year?
The Miami Dolphins, and I know you don't want to hear this, G, but this is going to be shades of what happened last year with Tyreek Hill. Now, Miami have to create some cap space by restructuring some of the longer-term deals, but where there's a will, there's a way. They put it out there that they're sticking with Tua, but there's no way they can have that degree of conviction when Tua's missed time in each of his first 3 seasons. So I think the Miami Dolphins makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers. And hey, after his win down in Miami, he said he wouldn't mind playing for the Dolphins.
So if by the Dolphins you mean the Jets, I love the sound of that. Marcus, let me come back, because that's not a name I've heard, and if you missed it over the weekend, Shefty reporting that both sides, the Packers and Rodgers, feel as though there is a real possibility of a trade, and we'll dive into the reporting end of it in a minute. But let's just start with that, Marcus. I haven't heard Miami. If we assume that the Packers want to get him out of the conference, there aren't that many options in the AFC. What makes sense to you? What's the best fit?
I think the Jets are the best fit because of that defense. And the last time we saw Aaron Rodgers win a championship, he had a top 5 defense. He had a veteran, Charles Woodson, on the other side. He needs that support. Like, y'all, we know how great Aaron Rodgers is, and we know how he's been. But defensively, the New York Jets are further along than most teams in the NFL, and they have young talent that they don't have to pay right away. Quentin Williams is up, but a couple of those guys still have time to continue to develop and continue to become as good as they can possibly be. There was a lot about the New York Jets this year that we saw that was very, very good. When you start talking about drafting Wilson and having those guys offensively, the run game before they lost the star rookie running back this year, all of those things kind of lead to who Aaron Rodgers needs to be around. That's the team that he talks about when he alludes to Green Bay and not wanting to be a part of a rebuild or a retool. And let's not even get to the point of the market. Like, we all know what that market is. We all know that Aaron Rodgers would be fine in the New York market. He'll make some people mad and piss them off like he did in Green Bay. It's hard to do that in Green Bay because don't nobody go there. But in New York, he'll be fine. But I think this team is better suited for Aaron Rodgers. The one caveat, G, and you know how I am about this, are you going to spend time with this offense before training camp? If he's going to do that, if you telling me he all in and invested with getting with these young receivers and making it work, I would no doubt think that Aaron Rodgers going to the AFC with the Jets will give them the best chance to get to a Super Bowl.
He can actually teach them the offense because there's Nathaniel Hackett, who is the new offensive coordinator, so that's a system with which he's obviously intimately familiar. And Nathaniel Hackett, for those not aware, is a brilliant offensive-minded genius, which he became the moment the Jets hired him as their offensive coordinator.
Oh, my
Graziano,
God.
take me through this. We saw the reporting this weekend, and obviously it's, an explosion. Shefty saying, well, the Packers may want to go in a different direction here. The money and the age and the Jordan Love of it all and all. So how do we expect this thing to progress as we go forward here?
What's interesting about the possibility of an Aaron Rodgers trade is it's a lot easier for the Packers to do it cap-wise if they wait until after June 1st.
Right.
Now, what is it today? January 31st. That's a long way off. Like, if you're a team that wants Rodgers, are you willing to put your other plans on hold? How confident do you feel that you will eventually get him? He is a mercurial individual. Like, what if he changes his mind?
Good word.
So, yeah, I think it's... I think that's what, but you can do it, right? I mean, the Packers can swing it. The new team would inherit the $58 million, whatever, and be able to spread that out for cap purposes. So you take a big cash hit this year. What the Packers would need in return, that becomes an interesting question for a 38, 39-year-old player that that you
that
might
everyone
only have
knows
for
that,
1 year.
that if they're on the trade market, everyone knows they have to get rid of him. And financially, he will control this circumstance.
Yes.
He doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract, but for all intents and purposes, he might as well, because if he just says, well, you trade me to this team, I'm not going to play there, then the trade doesn't happen. So I don't think the compensation will wind up being as much as people are speculating. I got 15 seconds left here. Have we convinced you?
No, you haven't convinced me. I mean, listen, Miami is a playoff team.
Yeah.
And that's despite their quarterback missing parts of 6 games. That's a third of the season.
But the Jets were playing for the second to last week of the season, and that's despite their quarterbacks being the worst in the entire National Football League.
Yeah, but the Jets are not used to nice things, Greeny. I understand you want that for yourself, but it's probably not going to happen.
It's the first time for everything.
Enjoy Nathaniel Hackett being your OC.
He's a genius. Okay, we have much more on all of that as we go today. So this is where I will say something that people are generally saying, and then you will tell me if that something is an overreaction. People are saying officiating cost Cincinnati the AFC Championship. Is that an overreaction?
As it always is, yes. The officiating did not cost Cincinnati the AFC Championship. But first of all, that underrates the job the Kansas City defense did, by the way, in the second half. How many times did Burrow get the ball back and you thought to yourself, okay, here we go, right? This is where the Bengals take over. And Kansas City was able to shut them down over and over and over again. There were calls early in the game that went Cincinnati's way, that had the crowd in Kansas City all ticked off. Officiating is a game condition. You either overcome it or you don't. It did not cost Cincinnati. There were other things that did.
That is always Dan's position. Next, with the hiring of Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator in L.A., if people are saying Justin Herbert's going to be the MVP next year, is that an overreaction?
No, it's not an overreaction. How many times did Tannenbaum stand here last offseason and say he was going to be MVP this year? He has that kind of ability. Kellen Moore has a proven track record of scoring points, and Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore could be an outstanding match. I think obviously as we go into next season, we'll see how the offseason unfolds, what the Chargers do at wide receiver, what kind of team they put around Justin Herbert. But, yeah, he has that kind of ability. I don't think it's an overreaction to say that.
And finally, with the news that Brock Purdy, coming off of the injury the other day to the elbow, may need surgery, may be out 6 months or so. If I were to say the 49ers quarterback next year is on their roster right now, is that an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction because they look at Brock Purdy and Trey Lance both as good, viable options for the future. Now, they're both going to be coming off significant injury, so it's hard to say exactly, which if either of them will be ready to go. And yes, there will be speculation, and justifiably so, about veteran additions, some really high-profile veteran additions in San Francisco. But we can't assume that'll happen, and we do know that the 49ers feel good about Brock Purdy and Trey Lance long-term.
Well, I mean, when you say super high-profile, I mean, the two most legendary and accomplished quarterbacks currently in the sport are both from Northern California, right? We know that. We know that Tom Brady is from there. We know that Aaron Rodgers is from there. And so let's engage in a little reckless speculation because it's fun and why not? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to San Francisco. The Green Bay Packers would rather cancel the rest of their schedule than trade Aaron Rodgers to their arch rival.
Get an awful lot.
But Tom Brady can go wherever he wants to go. Marcus, does Tom Brady to San Francisco make sense to you? You put Brady on the 49ers next year. Are they the favorite to win the Super Bowl?
No, they're not. And listen, did we not watch this game against the Philadelphia Eagles when they couldn't block a soul?
Yeah.
What is the main problem with Tom Brady? Are you going to fix the interior of this offensive line? Or are you going to tell Tom Brady, hey, man, we're going to hand it off a lot, but come here and play? And also, guys, who is the San Francisco 49ers downfield threat? I want y'all to tell me who that guy is, because Tom Brady likes to push the ball downfield off of play action. Kyle Shanahan is phenomenal. We all know that. We all know he called plays at a very high level. But does Tom Brady really fit this? Especially with what we saw happen to them against Philly. Now, if they revamp an offensive line and they're going to go more drop back play action, and he going to kind of formulate back into being who he was when he had Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, I'm all for it. But I don't see it.
All right, let me try and sell my friend Mr. Canty here on this idea.
Well, you don't have to sell too hard. You don't have to sell too hard.
Tell me why.
No, I'm all in on Tom Brady being a San Francisco 49er, and I disagree with Marcus. From a scheme standpoint, this is Tom Brady getting back to his roots and what we saw with him in the New England Patriots when he made Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and guys like Danny Amendola a lot of money by taking advantage of slot option, shorter passing routes, West Coast offense concepts. So I think Tom Brady would blend well with what Kyle Shanahan is trying to build. The offensive line is a concern, but hey, we got to tell Kyle Shanahan stop letting backup tight ends block premier edge rushers in the league. That's what got Brock Purdy knocked out. So I do think that San Francisco should be in the market for a veteran quarterback because this team is in win-now mode. Christian McCaffrey ain't getting younger. Trent Williams ain't getting younger. When you look at all of those guys on the offensive side of the ball, you have to take advantage of the window that you've created right now.
I'm with it. And then, Danny, just to sort of finish up the thought, I mean, everyone puts him in Vegas, which I understand because Josh McDaniels is there and they've got weapons. They have a terrible defense. If I'm Brady, they just won a Super Bowl a few years ago in Tampa because of his defense. San Francisco has that. I'm not sure what other options he may have that could match that.
Well, he has the option to retire and go make a bunch of money doing TV.
Fair enough.
That sounds pretty good. But look, if he wants to play, yes, I think San Francisco will be something that will appeal to him. I think San Francisco appeals to any quarterback that's looking for a home at this point. When you think about Kyle Shanahan, when you think about Trent Williams, when you think about all those yards after catch guys. So I think he has to look at it, and they probably have to look at him. What has to happen? I mean, look. We know that if Tom Brady knew what he wanted to effing do, he would have effing done it already. Right? We talked about this last week. Right. So he has to decide first whether he wants to keep playing, and we'll find out. But I don't think connecting him to San Francisco is wrong or irresponsible at all.
Okay, no, it's reckless.
I don't think it's even that reckless.
It's not that reckless, but we are recklessly speculating because I like the name of the feature, and we will continue to do it. All right, everyone stay where you are. I want to come back to that one as we go, but we got to talk about the other legend.